Welcome back to Carneades.org. Today we're going to be continuing with our series, Dumbfounding Definitions, Dizzying Distinctions, and Diabolical Doctrines, a series sorting through some of the jargon of philosophy. In this video we're going to be looking at what is epistemology. Now, simply put, epistemology is the study of knowledge. Defined narrowly, this means the study of what the necessary and sufficient conditions are for knowing a particular statement, how you can arrive at having those necessary and sufficient conditions, and what really each of those conditions mean. If defined more broadly, this can mean the study of how a particular discipline or group of people or organization gains or justifies knowledge. Philosophers are generally, but not exclusively, more interested in the former, narrow definition, though you might hear the term epistemology thrown around to mean any range of things relating to knowledge or the study of knowledge. Along with metaphysics, value theory, and logic, epistemology is one of the big central disciplines of philosophy, though it is much more focused than something like metaphysics or value theory would be, where metaphysics has all sorts of different things thrown in, everything from perception to identity to modality. Value theory has different things including ethics and political theory and aesthetics. Epistemology is much more focused, but it's still a central and very important discipline in philosophy because of its importance to everything else going on. Knowledge in epistemology is traditionally, going arguably back to Plato, defined as justified true belief. For you to know something, you must believe it, it must be true, and you must have some justification for it. Now, that aside, issues have been raised with this definition since. As Edmund Gettier pointed out, there are instances where you have a justified true belief, which is not knowledge. Check out my videos on the Gettier problem for more on that. And others have disagreed with this belief, this claim in different ways. Some have disputed exactly what a belief needs to be. Does it need to be a propositional attitude, or can it exist for animals and things that maybe can't think of propositions but might be able to think of ideas or pictures? What do we really mean by justification? What does that justification look like? Maybe we're going to call it something different. If it's external versus internal, we might call it warrant instead of justification. Those are just some examples of other things that have gone into this. But traditionally, you would say that knowledge is going to be justified true belief. So, to get a sense of some of the different positions within epistemology, we're going to look at a series of questions you might answer and how different positions will respond to them. So, to the question, is knowledge possible? One of the central questions in epistemology. If you say no, you're probably an academic skeptic. If you say, I don't know if knowledge is possible, you're a Pyrrhonian skeptic like me. If you say, it depends on what you mean by no, you're going to be a contextualist. And if you say yes, I might call you an epistemist, though a lot of people won't have a specific term for those that claim that knowledge is possible. Now, does knowledge require experience? This is kind of a subcategory. Sometimes it's separated from this general taxonomy, but it's still an important distinction within philosophy, especially for early modern philosophers. If knowledge requires experience, then you might be an empiricist. If you think that knowledge doesn't require experience, that there's some things we can know without experience, then you might be a rationalist. Now, either an empiricist or a rationalist might answer the next question. Is justification, remember, knowledge is made up of justified true belief. So what do we mean by justification? Quote unquote internal. So it's based on something within your head, or is it based on something outside of your head, something that you're not aware of, perhaps? If it's not based on something inside your head, you might be an externalist. But if you think that it is based on something inside your head, you're probably an internalist. Now, if you're an internalist, how within your head are particular beliefs justified? Well, a couple positions, you might say that they are justified by proof from some axiomatic beliefs. And if you claim that, you might be a foundationalist. Whereas if you claim that they're justified by agreement with the other beliefs that exist in your head, then you might be a coherentist. These are just a very brief spattering of a few positions in epistemology to give you a bit of a sense of kind of what epistemology does. So as we did with metaphysics, let's look at how different disciplines of philosophy will talk about a computer. So if this isn't clear, think about a computer. Here are some questions that different areas of philosophy might ask about it. Epistemology might ask things like, what can we know about the computer? How can we justify our beliefs about this computer? Or even, can the computer have knowledge? Though that's going to be a bit of a crossover with philosophy of mind. Metaphysics might ask things like, what kind of thing is the computer? Does it have free will? How does it relate to its parts? Is it necessary or contingent? Ethics might ask, is the computer good? How can it be used for good or bad? Philosophy of mind might ask, does the computer have consciousness? Philosophy of art might ask, is the computer beautiful or is it sublime? Epistemology is the part of philosophy which engages in questioning your deeply held beliefs and shows you what can and cannot be justified. Often when people think of the philosopher that probes you on your beliefs, on what you think you know, they're thinking of someone who's talking about epistemology and who's using epistemology to probe into those things to see, do you really know that thing or do you just believe it? Watch this video and more here at Carneades.org and stay skeptical, everybody.